away, the day, 7th of May. In tonight's show, we'll be crossing live to our reporters Palesa Machane and Ayanda Mhlongo, who, as you can see, are standing by in Tweespruit in the Free State and KwaMashu in Durban. We look forward to talking to them. But as usual, let's begin the programme with a brief look at some of the main election stories of the day. As campaigning gets into full swing for the election on the 7th of next month, the ANC had some of its heavyweights out on the campaign trail.
Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe took the ANC campaigning to the embattled Bushbuck Ridge in Mpumalanga. It's one of the rural areas in the province that's still without basic services such as water. This is despite the construction of the multi-million rand Inyaka Dam. Unemployment remains high, especially among the youth. Motlante's visit came at a time when the ANC is losing its grip on the municipality. The local ANC is divided and the municipality is under administration.
This current administration has 5 priorities: education, health, job creation, fight against crime and corruption, rural development and land reform. These are the 5 priorities. And so where the fight against crime and corruption is part of our priority tasks.
At Galashewe in the Northern Cape, the president of the ANC Women's League, Angie Motshekga, severely criticized politically motivated killings and intolerance. However, Motshekga encouraged robust political debate.
If there are no people speaking against you, there's no debate, so there's no excitement about sharpening of ideas. So I find it unfortunate when people are uncomfortable with democracy, because it's very healthy. It really helps you also as the ruling party to sharpen your own thinking, to sharpen your own implementation. So it's a very healthy process.
She also visited the family of the 6-week-old baby that was raped by a relative in Kimberley. In the Eastern Cape, the DA leader Helen Zille spent the day campaigning in East London. Accompanied by the party's provincial premier candidate Athol Trollip, they targeted the province's second metro, Buffalo City, and the impoverished communities of Sweetwaters and Mpumalanga.
The whole of the Eastern Cape is enormously encouraging for the DA. We are growing in this province as in few others in all communities across the board. The blue people of the Eastern Cape are standing up for good government, and they're going to vote for good government too, and we will not disappoint them.
At Nelspruit in Mpumalanga, there was a high-profile defection of sorts. The provincial leader of Cope, Zale Madonsela, was presented as the premiership candidate of the UDM. She was Cope's only representative in the provincial legislature. Madonsela says she remains a member of Cope, but will be campaigning for the UDM.
We call on South Africans not to waste their votes, but to invest in the future by voting UDM, because together with UDM we've agreed that we are going to work together in these elections.
However, Cope says Madonsela is no longer a member as she didn't renew her membership. And in Pretoria, several opposition parties have called on the IEC chairperson, Pansy Tlakula, to resign immediately or face legal action. This comes in the wake of a Treasury forensic report which implicates Tlakula and several IEC officials in misconduct. The findings relate to the discrepancies in the procurement of the IEC head office in Pretoria.
Now, there are various ways in which you at home can participate in tonight's programme. Send us your emails to elections@sabc.co.za, or you can SMS us on 33726. Just remember to begin your message with the word vote, and remember that the SMS will cost you R1.50. Now, for tweets, use the hashtag SABC elections. That's what you must do. And you can also find us on Facebook at SABC News Online. Well, as election day draws closer, officials of the Independent Election Commission are out in force in an effort to ensure that all voters know exactly what is expected of them on the day. Democracy education facilitators have spread out in the Free State to provide voter education to people in their homes.
Rayfontein village near Tabanjo in the Free State has a population of just 900 people. Among them is 79-year-old Stephen Mudisenyani. The facilitators visited him in his house because he is visually impaired. He's eligible for a special vote, and the procedure for these votes were explained to him.
They told me they will come to my house so that I can vote from my house, because I can't see and can't walk to the school to vote there. So I'm happy that they are coming to my house to allow me to vote. I will be sitting on my chair and they will hold my hand and help me to write.
The facilitators brought their message on voter education to young people who will vote for the first time, as well as people who have done so before.
We have what we call the born frees, the youth of today. Not all of them know how to make their cross, and more especially also the people in the rural areas. They don't know, they don't have an idea or a clue in terms of how to vote. So that is why we have embarked heavily on voter education.
This information is important because it will help us to choose the party of our choice.
I've been voting all along, but we did not have information. We were only informed when we got to voting stations.
For some people, the election brings a promise of hope.
I want to vote because I want jobs and everything, change houses.
I hear that to vote is my voice.
Maybe there will be changes in our lives.
I'm going to vote for the party that I will believe will provide for our needs like jobs.
The IEC officials say they do not always have an easy task. They have to face various challenges in the field.
We used to encounter problems of access, because as you know, sometimes in other areas, it's rural areas and others is farming areas. And other farmers were denying our people access to their farms because they didn't have an identification so that they identify, say, we are from IEC. So farmers are a bit skeptical in accepting anybody in their farms.
This problem has been overcome to ease access for the officials.
By providing them with jackets that show that this is an IEC official and it's written DF at the bottom on the left side. So they are able to gain access anywhere where they want to, and they cannot be confused with any political party.
The IEC intends covering every corner of the province before May the 7th. The electoral body says so far they have not had too many problems in the Free State, where people have been very friendly. Palesa Matane, SABC News, Roy Fontaine, Tabanchu.
Right, let's take the story forward now, and you heard a report, but let's cross to her live. Palesa Matsane, who is standing by in the Free State, in the small dairy farming town of Tweespruit. Palesa, good evening to you.
Good evening. We are at Ulrieta Farm near Tweespruit in the Eastern Free State. We're about 90 kilometers from Bloemfontein, and we're a farm that belongs to Mr. Man Ulrich, and he's been farming here for about 64 years. We're going to talk to him about agriculture and everything that concerns him around agriculture in the country. Good evening, sir, and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Palesa, and welcome at Ulrieta.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ulrich, how is agriculture doing in South Africa at the moment?
Agriculture is an interesting industry, and in South Africa it's always interesting because of the unpredictability of the weather. And we had an interesting season this year. But apart from that, we do have a serious problem in the country, and that is that farmers, generally speaking, are feeling unsafe, and that at certain times, our emergent farmers especially don't get the assistance from the government that they should be getting. And that puts pressure on agriculture generally. Farmers are also worried about legislation that just doesn't seem to be coming to an end. And as you've noticed, quite a lot of farmers have left because of land reform. So yes, we do have challenges. Our chicken farmers in the country at the moment, 37% of the chickens that are produced in South Africa come from Brazil. Why are we creating jobs in Brazil and not in South Africa? And the same applies to dairy and some other industries as well in the farming community. So I do feel that there needs to be more clear thinking from government. And unless that happens, I think farming will stay under pressure. We also have a problem in the sense that your emergent farmers, because they don't have title deed to the land, cannot raise their own capital. and borrow money from the banks. And that creates an enormous problem for the industry.
Okay, Mr. Ulrich, tell me, you said that a lot of farmers have left the business because of the current conditions. What specifically do you think can be done to attract them back into farming?
Well, certainly, I think the government would have a big role to play, because we need to have the right people in the right positions, taking decisions and implementing them. And the ANC government certainly has very good policies, but somehow fails to implement them, and has a wonderful way of always blaming someone else for their failures. And I think part of the problem is because we don't have the right people in the right places to actually implement what decisions were taken.
And when it comes to emerging farmers, how do you think emerging farmers can be assisted so that they get to perhaps your level?
What is very nice that's happened in South Africa in the last few years is that Grain South Africa and the emergent or the commercial farmers have realized they've got to extend a hand. And so if you have a black neighbor, then this is a time to extend a hand to him and to help him along. And I think it is happening, it's starting to happen. But the other thing that needs to happen is that we should only be speaking of farmers in the sector. It shouldn't be black and white farmers. And we should actually form one union that we can all be talk to government directly as a united force.
Are there any achievements? Do you think something has been done right somewhere? We've got a lot of challenges, but is there something that's going right?
Certainly. We have got, in the farming industry, we've got some very strong players, and we've also got some farming businesses, agri-businesses that are strong and that are able to support the farming community. So I think also when one looks at think of the bigger picture, our universities are producing excellent students. Schools, agricultural schools and agricultural institutions are producing good students. So we just...
Sorry, Mr. Ulrich, unfortunately we've just run out of time. The studio has just spoken to me now. Well, we've just wrapped that conversation up with Mr. Man Ulrich from Henrietta, or rather Ulrietta Farm, near to Esprit in the Eastern Free State. It's back to you in the studio.
All right, Palesa, thank you very much for that, chatting to one of the farmers out there, as you can hear, a dairy farm, no doubt, and I think some really important issues raised there. And if you'd like to comment or not, please do. We'd really, really love to hear from you. That was from Tweespruit in the Free State, so lovely to be in that part of the world. All right, all the SMSs coming through, tweets, Facebook messages. Let's take a look at some of them right now. The first one coming from AD saying that the general population needs to be educated on what each party stands for and also a statistical look at their achievements. Well, Adrian, that's what we're trying to do here with this special show and other shows on SABC. Victor writing in and also saying there is not enough education for farm workers and workers, or farmers and workers, we should say. No one cares about them. That's a bit of a harsh statement, Victor, but no doubt you obviously do have some reasons to put a statement like that forward. If you feel the same way, get hold of us on Twitter. Use that hashtag SABC Elections. Let's take a break. More after this.
Bana le bona ba ka tshwarwa ke TB.
A ngwana a bile haufi le motho ya nang le TB kapa ya ka nnang a ba le yona, ngwana o lokelwa ke ho hlahlojwa bakeng sa TB. Ya tleliniking e haufi bakeng sa hlahlobo ya TB mahala.
Bana ba tshwanela ho hlokahala ka baka la TB. Yone ka phekolo.
One country, 9 provinces. 10 teams.
Are you ready for me to taste the stew?
One winner. 250,000 up for grabs. And only one perfect seshebo.
It's nice. I'm happy.
champion. So well done, ladies.
Pull into Fresh Stop for this irresistible deal. Buy 3 large avocados for the great price of just 10 Rand. That's 3 large avocados for the unbelievably low price of just 10 Rand. So get to Fresh Stop at Caltex and let this great deal hit the spot. Fresh Stop at Caltex.
We realized that our greatest skill is our knowledge that a lot of kids in South Africa don't have access to at all. So as a result, we thought, why don't we give career guidance? We can talk about what we do at our jobs every day. After the career days, the kids are usually really excited. As soon as you know what to do, I mean, that sets you on the right path immediately. You're about to be a grown-up now, and you've got to start taking charge of your own life.
Right, we're back with more election news. But it's believed that government should put more focus on mentoring and assisting emerging farmers. An emerging farmer from Zastron in the Southern Free State, Otto Mbangula, says emerging farmers do not want to be dependent on government, but they do want to work with government as partners.
Emerging farmers say they've had it tough over the years. They say they've been promised many things that never materialized, and this puts a damper on successful farming.
One of the things that we need in the Free State, and particularly in Kharib, we need water as black farmers who are on the upper orange. And these have been promised to us for a very, very long time. We want to irrigate, we want to be able to produce quality for the markets, and the assistance, the resources, the mechanization, those things must come, and so that we can be able to do.
Years of disappointment have made farmers skeptical about the promises made by political parties in their election manifestos. They say it's time for less talk and decisive action.
Promises must not be made if they cannot be fulfilled. Promises must be said with a clear view budget that is going to assist and to see those things that people are promising about being fulfilled and concretized in the lives of the farmers that we are.
Since the announcement of the election date, the IEC has been hard at work keeping communities informed across the country. Officials have been out in full force conducting voter education.
I heard that they have been in other farmers. We hope that where they have been, the farmers are going to be encouraged, and particularly workers, to feel that they are part of the democratic process.
Farmers hope that promises made will be fulfilled come after the elections. Palesa Matani, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
As always, we took to the streets to find out whether voter education is important. We got some mixed reaction, I can tell you. Have a listen to this.
It's important for the IEC to go to our rural areas, ensure that our people understand exactly how to vote.
Voter education, obviously, it brings about more knowledge.
It's very important for IEC to go to the rural areas, because most of the people in that areas are not educated about voting.
Most of the young people coming up haven't got a clue what they're doing when it comes to voting.
I think voter education is important because without it I wouldn't have known what to do, what the procedures would have been.
These young children who have born 1990, 94, from upwards, they are the ones who must be educated about the elections, because they don't know the importance of the elections. They don't know what is going on in our country.
I don't actually think it's that important. I mean, to be honest, like the first time that I voted, I was 18. It was about a month after my first birthday, and I just saw the signs, followed them to the local school where the voting stations were, and I just voted.
Not everyone knows how to vote.
Quite interesting, I must say. I mean, I suppose I feel the same way. When I voted, I just arrived and voted. And we do need more education, I would imagine. So the first step is watching programs like this. So welcome, and we're glad you're watching. All right, let's cross live now to our reporter, Ayanda Mhlongo. She is in KwaMashu. Ayanda, a very, very good evening to you.
A very good evening to you, Leanne. Unfortunately, we're coming to at a very tense time here in KwaMashu. As you know, that on Sunday evening, 2 people were killed, including the block chairman, Stembiso Biela. So there's a bit of an uneasy, calm and tension here. Speaking to residents, they are saying that the area is, they are really living in fear. But to speak speak to us about the situation here at KwaMashu, I'm joined by the MEC for Community Safety and Liaison here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, MEC Willis Mkhunu. MEC, very good evening to you, and thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you. Good evening.
MEC, a very peaceful by-election about 6 days ago, 6 days after that, the killings. You must be very disappointed.
Indeed, it is disappointing that we put a lot of effort and our police worked day and night to stabilize the area after instability broke out just before the by-election. But the result was a very good, successful by-election. Then for people to be killed thereafter, really disappointing. But as you would know, we were informed that there seems to be a hit squad that had run away when the police came in. They are now back. But the police are also trying to locate, but the important thing is to identify them. And that's the major critical area that we have not come about to solve, their identities. But I've had meetings with police, I've had meetings with all stakeholders, including the block chairpersons here, and I'm satisfied that firstly, policing is going well, but there is also an agreement between myself and the police that they will assess, reassess, review, see, identify witnesses, strengthen policing again. But after my meeting with the stakeholders, I am looking for another meeting with the management of the command structure of the police, just to look at whether any suggestions that have come from the community, from the structures, the crime-fighting structures, can be of use to the police. So I'm expecting that quite soon we will make announcements of whether there are changes in policing strategy, and the police will make those announcements. But I'm also going to be dealing with areas in which government needs to take action, because police are complaining that, yes, much as they are doing their best, but the environment here is very difficult to police. Having been there myself, I can testify to the effect that there is just so much congestion of slum houses that something needs to be done. Again, about lighting, something needs to be done.
MEC, thank you very much for your time. We're going to leave it there due to the time that we have. Leanne, that was the MEC for Community Safety and Liaison here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, working a lot behind the scenes to try and work in KwaMashu and ensure that there is peace, there is a stability in this area. He's also dealing a lot with the political leaders here and hopefully to ensure that there is peace. And that is where we leave things off here. Leanne, and it's back to you in the studio.
All right, Ayanda, thank you very much for that. As Ayanda said, reporting live from KwaMashu in Durban. Let's take a look at a couple more tweets that have come through this evening. Jacqueline Friedman saying, I think people should know all there is to know by now because it's been flooding the airwaves. I hope so, Jacqueline, I really do. This is from Bahesing Snoot saying, I don't know of any time around when it was successful. It's a waste of funding. Parties should do it. All right, and one more. The atmosphere for this upcoming election is vibrant, far more different than yesteryear's. I think people's hopes are high. Spoon Gobani, a very regular tweeter here on the election program. Thanks again for getting hold of us. Well, a large number of smaller parties are contesting this year's elections. After the break, the leader of the National Front, Dan Rutt, will tell us in just 1 minute why you should vote for him. Stay tuned.
Are you a successful business owner with a dream of taking your business to the next level? Then enter Think Big, a new TV show coming to SABC3. We're looking for 12 great businesses ready to step up. Think national TV exposure, expert business support, and a possible cash injection worth 1 million rand. Entry details online. Think business. Think opportunity. Think big. Enter today. Go to standardbank.co.za/bizconnect. Standard Bank. Moving forward.
Tonight on 7 Alarm.
Het jy regkom met die musos?
Ek wag net vir finale bevestiging. Die enigste ander ding is...
Altie, jy het my nog nie geantwoord nie.
7 Alarm. Tonight, 6:30.
Appreciate African music, South African music specifically. We have a body of work that deserves recognition.
Right, welcome back, everybody. The final section of election 2014 now, a special pre-election show. You know, there are lots of small parties contesting the elections. We give them 1 minute to explain to you why you should vote for them. Well, tonight is the turn for the leader of the Front National, Dan Root.
We are a party campaigning for minority rights and Afrikaner self-determination because in 1994 we gave up our sovereignty and we never voted on that. We're also resolutely opposed to all forms of discrimination against white people and Afrikaners generally. We are opposed to land reform and any form of affecting and impairing property rights in South Africa because that is going to lead us down the same path as Zimbabwe. We've seen all those other examples and we need to oppose that and we appeal to people to vote for us. We are also a new party without any baggage from the past. We have never betrayed anyone.
All right, there you go. That's the Front National leader, Dan Rod. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back with more election news for you tomorrow with issues that you need to know to go to the polls. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.